yang beranggotakan Qarisma Anggun, Nurul Fadilah, Alifia, Clarissa Nadia, Anisa Delima, Tasya Erli akan menjelaskan tentang cultural adjustment. Untuk lebih jelasnya, mari kita mulai dari what is cultural adjustment.
What is cultural adjustment? Cultural adjustment is a process an individual has to go through to be able to work effectively and live comfortable in a place that is new and unfamiliar to them. Living in a new culture requires to learn a new set of culture patterns and behaviors. This process can be very challenging and sometimes uncomfortable. There are generally three main types of cultural adjustment. Culture surprise usually occurs during the first few days of your visit as you initially become aware of superficial differences. Example, people dress differently, swear in a different language, nonverbal behaviors are different.
Culture shock is a normal, healthy psychological reaction to the stress of living in a different culture. You experience feelings of tension and anxiety because you have lost familiar culture cues. Your actions do not always get you what you want, and your inability to communicate effectively with others is frustrating. Culture stress is a very short-term response to stimulus overload. This occurs when you begin to respond to the behavior of the new culture. Example, trying to drive a car, doing your own shopping, hearing comments about yourself.
Culture shock is caused by the stress of being in a new culture and is a normal part of adjusting to a new place. When you live in a new culture, your own values are continually brought into question. Also, if you are cut off from the cultural clues and known patterns with which you are familiar. Some symptoms of culture shock are anxiety, crying of a lot, irritability, hopelessness, homesickness, distrust of host depression, withdrawal fatigue, stereotyping boredom, self-doubt, avoiding contact with host national, difficulty studying effectively. Here are some stages of cultural adjustment. The first one is honeymoon period. Initially, you will probably be fascinated and excited by everything new. Usually, visitors are at first overjoyed to be in a new culture. Next, culture shock. You are immersed in new problems, housing, transportation, food, language, and new friends. Fatigue may result from continuously trying to comprehend and use the second language. You may wonder, why did I come here? Find tips for dealing with culture shock. The third one is initial adjustment. Everyday activities such as housing and going to school are no longer major problems. Although you may not yet be perfectly fluent in a language spoken, basic ideas and feelings in the second language can be expressed. Next, mental isolation. You have been away from your family and good friends for a long period of time. You may feel lonely. Many still feel they cannot express themselves as well as they can in their native language. Frustration and sometimes a lack of self-confidence result. Some individuals remain at this stage. The next one, acceptance and integration. You have established a routine, for example, work, school, social life. You have accepted the habits, customs, foods, and characteristics of the people of the new culture. You feel comfortable with friends, associates, and the language of the country. The next one is return anxiety, re-entry shock, reintegration. Surprisingly, re-entry shock, also known as reverse culture shock, can be more difficult than the initial culture shock of traveling abroad.
How to coping with culture shock? Staying active in your local community and not relying on constant communication with friends and family back home are some of the best ways to cope with culture shock. Other suggestions are included in this list. 1. Be open to learning new ways of doing things, trying different foods, etc. 2. Get comfortable with feeling lost sometimes and learn how to ask for help when you need it. 3. Do not expect everything to be perfect at all times. 4. Try to keep a positive attitude. You may experience some sort of reserve culture shock when you return. This is to be expected since you have spent your time abroad trying to assimilate into a new culture. Most likely, you will not be the same person you were when you left. Your views and outlook on how you approach various issues may have changed. You may develop a new appreciation.
Okay, this is I will explain about tips for adjustment. Break out of your comfort zone and make yourself experience everyday life. Go to the market, visit the zoo, go to the movies. Take note of how the locals walk, talk, and interact with one another. Exercise respect for cultural norms. If you're meeting a friend and they are 20 minutes late or per cultural norms, don't let it bother you. You can still arrive places promptly if you prefer, but don't expect the same from others if that's not how time works in local society. Ask for help. If you feel like you're having trouble adjusting, don't be afraid to ask friends or local professor and staff to assist you in making sense of your new environment.
Dan penjelasan tentang cultural adjustment dari para anggota kami. Terima kasih atas perhatian dan pertanyaannya. Selamat pagi. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.